Anyway, yeah, if
I mean,
you,
I get that you just generally don't like cheese, but like, and because I'm not like cheeseburgers, I'll probably take a regular hamburger over cheeseburger, but like, you don't, every now and then you don't just get a nice, like, just grilled cheese and tomato soup, just get it all nice and crispy and cheesy. You can't do that?
no, if anything's ever described to me as cheesy, I'm not gonna eat it.
You
I
like,
mean, if I have something, if I eat something with cheese, I'll often ask, is it cheesy? And if they say no, then I might try it.
it's really funny though that you like all these other. At least you pride yourself on being adventurous when it comes to food, at least relative to our meat and potatoes family. You know what I
Hold on a
mean?
minute, hold on a minute. Yes, I am adventurous compared to Dad, who only eats pasta and pizza and the occasional grilled chicken salad. I mean, yeah, I am adventurous based on that, but
Like
I wouldn't say I
you
pride
eat some
myself.
crazy, but you eat some crazy like foods from other ethnicities that we were never exposed to as a young kid. But you can't have grilled cheese sandwich. Like I don't know, it just seems like a weird thing to me.
Well, I'm sorry that it displeases you.
It doesn't
But
displease me. I just think I don't know.
so the scoop of that whole thing is it's it doesn't make a lot of sense, which is on brand, I suppose, for me. But uh, usually the two factors, if you're ever wondering, will Kevin try this? The matrix here is going to be some kind of a vertical axis, which is odor, how pungent, and then the other axis is how smelly, or I just said that, pungent, and how melted it is. The consistency. So if you're up in the upper quadrant here, where it's super smelly and it's super melty, I'm probably gonna I might even leave the room depending on how bad it is. Now, so
So,
for example, before so pizza usually pretty melty, not like pull apart like any it's like oozing melty, but it's melted cheese. But provolone mozzarella blends don't usually have a very strong odor. I'm usually okay with those, right? Um, Cheese and crackers. You get your cold or maybe room temperature. Mild cheddars. Sometimes a pepper jack. I really enjoy Colby Jack cheese. Whatever. They're mild cheeses that are in a very solid, like cold hardened form. I enjoy that quite a lot, actually. Um, if you were to take that same piece of cheese and melt it over a burger or something, you've immediately made it less appealing to me. Probably, most likely, I haven't done the science behind all of this, but probably because as you heat things up, like it gets a little bit more aromatic. It's a little bit expanded out. You're getting a lot of more cheese in your face when you go to take a bite. Those would be the two main factors. So
where's your border? Where does it intersect? What is like the right below the line, but like I don't know. Give me like the I don't know what's the where does it go too far for you?
where does it go too far? Just one step too far. Man, okay. What it's probably going to be, it's so hard because every food is different, but it's probably going to be something like a homemade mac and cheese that might have one or two different kinds of cheese in it, but it's not like dripping with cheese. It's more of just like you have enough cheese in there
Creamy.
to.
It's
I
creamy.
don't want too much cream. I don't. Yes, it is. It's more creamy than like oozy, but it's more like the noodles were just rolled around in a light cheesy sauce concoction and then put into a separate container and like the rest whatever. Like I'm picturing something that doesn't exist. But that's probably the line where you're using some milder cheeses. You did melt them down to make some kind of macaroni. Anything that you can do to like harden it up, or maybe like put like some crumbly something on top to maybe like make it a little drier. Not dry. Obviously, you don't want anything to be like
It's too
dry,
dry.
but a little crumble, a little something like that can distract me from the really the creamy smoothie cheesiness. That's probably where that line is.
Okay. Last question before we jump into the sports talk, and I just really want yes or no here. Kraft Easy Mac or Kraft in a box? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, actually, I enjoy that quite a bit. And it's weird because you'd say, well, that's not even real cheese. Like, why would you like that? Well, it's not real cheese.
That might be why.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
like
I'm not saying that's why, but that probably helps explain it. I also grew up on that, and it's a very much so. Once you get, and I know you didn't ask for any more, but here I am. Um, when you get into like your parmesans and your pecorini whatever thing, the more Italian the cheese is, the less likely I am to want anything to do with it. That goes for really any ethnicity or really any country. The more foreign sounding it is, not to be xenophobic or anything like that. I just am not interested in it. It's probably going to be like it's stuck around for a reason. Like because people like the cheese and people that go pizza. We talked about pizza. People that add way too many different kinds of cheeses to a pizza. 4 cheese pizzas. What are we doing
yeah, get
here?
out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there.
If you
There's
need if you need more than 2 types of cheese on a pizza, you're doing something wrong.
yeah, and one of those cheeses always has to be mozzarella. The other one that is generally I could see it is some Parmesan. Those are the two cheeses on pizza that I like. If you throw cheddar in there, or if you throw in like I don't know whatever weird like you know whatever other fancy cheeses, no thanks, I don't want it. Just give me mozzarella.
Yeah, mozzarella provolone blend is usually the best. I'll have a cheese stick. I like a mozzarella cheese stick. I enjoy those quite a bit. But there's a point where it gets too runny and like gooey and stuff. Like if you
Or
get
too hard, or probably too hard,
no no
right?
no
There's
no
a point
no.
where
I
it gets
like that. I like that. That's fine with me.
you'll eat
If
a
you took
hard old.
a one that you buy at the grocery store, like a string cheese. I love string cheese. I'll eat string cheese all day long. But if it feels like you just took a string cheese, you didn't even heat the damn thing up, but you breaded it, I would eat that all day long. That sounds great.
So like a Red Robin at
Oh
the end of
yeah.
the dinner, end of dinner. You had them at appetizers, but there was one left that no one touched. You've already finished your food. You probably skipped on the last round of new fries so that you could grab that hardened mozzarella cheese stick. You're doing
Come on over here, big boy. I want you.
it. All right, I think that's good on the cheese talk.
Oh, good, good. I hope that cleared some things up for you.
It
Um,
did. It helped me out a lot.
okay. I like the hat.
Thank
You
you.
know what?
Yeah,
Actually,
see,
I like everything you got going on in this picture right here. The AFC Championship hat. You got the championship belt, the golden eagle, of course, like, as always. You got little Rock'em Sock'em
naturally.
robots down in the corner. I like to think
That's
I
right.
like to think that that wasn't intentional, and you were just playing with them during a work break. You just left it out. But
I No, I had it out because I had the nephews from the in laws side over this weekend for the party for the birthday party. So I had a few toys out and they were a big hit. So
you gotta be careful.
every now and then
What's the age limit on that thing?
I think it's 4 and up.
Teach them violence
Not
early.
not a lot of small pieces. Well, there is some violence aspect to it, I guess. But
Knock your head off.
every now and then you got to rock 'em, sock 'em. You know what I mean?
I do, I do, I do. Remember that game? I Don't Break the Ice. It was like a tray.
Yeah,
It was like a square tray, and you had all these fake little ice cubes that you fit into the tray, and they were maybe like an inch by an inch, maybe 2 inch by 2 inch, but they fit just perfectly where it was snug enough that you could put this little figurine on top of the ice, and you to each. This is such a cool game. It'd be a good drinking game. But
it would be great.
there was a little mallet that came with the thing, and you and whoever's playing, you just take turns. It's almost like Jenga a little bit. Like you don't want the thing to or fall over. You want to. Everybody has to take turns hitting an ice block out of the little square, until you get to the point where somebody knocks the final piece out and the little figure comes crashing through the ice. What a
It's a
great
it's a
game.
dude it's a dude in a chair, and if you really think about the implications of that when you're a kid, that's kind of horrifying. You're sending this guy to death because he's strapped in a chair and can't get out, and then you knock all the ice out, so he falls into a river and presumably drowns.
Yeah. Well, we started with Rock'em Sock'em Robots. It's the goal is to hit your opponent in a way that takes their spine up through their neck so that their head is 2 feet above their shoulders. So,
Yeah,
you
they're
know,
really they got us early, didn't they?
oh yeah, hungry, hungry hippos, a gluttony. That's why I weigh as much as I do. I
It's
learned a
true.
lot as a kid.
You can't say anything bad about monkeys in
Monkeys in a barrel? I suppose not. I mean, give me some time and I'll think of something.
America.
Yeah. Well, Scotty, I guess we have to talk about this. How are you feeling? It's the Tuesday after the Super Bowl. For those who didn't tune in, Bengals had a chance at the end of the game, but
They were winning the entire third quarter, and they were winning up until a minute 37 left.
you want to give the exposition? I was just going to do it for you. I'll get your.
Yep,
But it
nah,
sounds
go
like
for it.
you want to do it though.
No, I don't want to.
You
You can talk
sure?
about it. And I'll tell you how I feel.
Okay.
But you said they had a chance at the end. I think it's a little bit more than a chance. They had
Well,
the lead the entire second half
well,
until the very end.
you didn't let me finish, good sir.
All right, all right.
I was just saying that I was just recapping the end of the game for those who did not tune in. It was ended up being.
113 million people turned in.
Tell me more, Scotty. Just go ahead and take the
That's the
reins,
fifth.
buddy.
The most. It's the most viewed Super Bowl in the last 5 years. So it's pretty good.
Okay, so you're taking
Well,
you're
I'm
feeling
not
good
gonna.
because of
I'm just
that. The ratings is all that
no.
matters.
It's not all that matters at all. In
Talk to
fact,
me.
even if it was the least,
Rams won.
listen, Rams won. Rams won by 3 points. Lots of things happened at the end of the game that were just. It was a very disappointing end to an otherwise magical season for the Bengals because of just they did everything right. They did everything they could to win that game. They had a great defensive strategy. That Bengals defense played lights out for most of the game. They really stopped the Rams. They stopped the Rams' run game. There was no run game at all. They were able to contain Cooper Kupp for the most part. Odell Beckham got hurt, which definitely was a factor, but they did everything right to win that game. There was a penalty that was an unfortunate penalty that some would say definitely just made sure that they were going to score the Rams were going to score a touchdown. That was a questionable call. But then at the end of the day, Joe Burrow and the offensive line in particular, could not block when it mattered the most. And had Joe Burrow on that last fourth down play had an extra second of time and Aaron Donald wasn't on his face, Jamar Chase had beaten Jalen Ramsey and he was wide open for probably a touchdown. And they would have won that game had they had just another second or two. And that ultimately is what cost them. And after a few days, it hurt. It hurt that night. It was rough, just because of how close it was, and everyone's been saying, "Oh yeah, they'll be back. They'll be back. They'll be back." Joe Burrow. Like, there's a lot of things to look forward to in the future for the Bengals for sure. They got a young team. They got tons of cap space. They have all their draft picks. They can make some moves to fill. I mean, they could totally revamp that offensive line and do it within budget and without probably even using a lot of draft capital, which is awesome and optimistic for the future. But it is so hard to get to the Super Bowl. It is so hard to just even get to the Super Bowl. So many things can happen along the way for great teams. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's back-to-back MVPs. His team, the Packers, have won 12, 13 games for like a lot of the last 10 years, but they still haven't been to the Super Bowl in 10 years. That's the future that we're looking at here. So yeah, the Bengals could be ultimately successful. They could have division championships out the wazoo, number one seeds out the wazoo, but it's really hard to get back there. And so they needed to win that game because of the fact that they where in the lead the entire second half. They were doing all the right things. They had the perfect strategy to win that game. The Rams were beatable. They were absolutely beatable because of how the Bengals were playing. They needed to bring it home, and for that reason, it was pretty disappointing. It's going to be a hard one to, it's going to be a long off season thinking about that.
How many points did the Bengals score in the second half?
They didn't score. They scored one touchdown. They scored 7 points in the second half. They scored. They were down. They were down. What was it? They were down. Dang, now I forgot. They were down at halftime. They were down by 3 points.
The only reason I mention it is because the
Yeah,
Bengals, I think, were known for all these comeback wins, and being a really really good second half team. And I think the hats off really to the LA defense because I mean you mentioned that last drive when they couldn't block it when they needed to, and that's true. But I also think that the Rams just did a good job on defense, and I mean to hold I mean I don't think anybody would say that the Bengals have the best offense in the league. I actually think it's just above average if you look at like the advanced metrics, which I don't not going to get into it at all. But it's still impressive to be able to um, basically shut down an offense like that. I mean, so many talented players. I mean, I think that Stafford's getting a lot of credit. I think that Aaron Donald's getting a lot of credit, rightly so. Um, but I think that I just think it was a really impressive performance from the Rams defense. I don't
the
know.
Rams. The
Yeah, good.
The Rams defensive line is what I mean. They I mean, it took them a while because okay, so the Bengals scored 10 points in the third quarter. They were shut out in the fourth quarter, which ultimately is why they lost. And that's when the Rams defensive line everything clicked, and they sacked Burrow a ton in the fourth quarter. Like that's when it mattered most. I think he got sacked 5 total times, and I think 3 of those came in the fourth quarter. And those were all on huge drives, like those are drive-ending sacks that happen, and that's when they needed it the most. And that's what I mean. Burrow didn't have any time. He got pressured. He got injured. He played through an injury. It looks like a sprained MCL. I think is what. Thank the Lord, there's no structural damage. They got to him at the end, and it was all the line because players were open. I mean, Ramsey was beat a few times. They just didn't have Burrow just didn't have time to get him the ball. So they need 2 or 3 offensive linemen, to be honest. They need to come. I mean, Riley Reef might come back. He was injured all the last part of the season, but he would have been really helpful. But they really need every single player on that offensive line needs to go because they were not great. But if they can do that, having Higgins, having Chase, having Boyd, having Joe Mixon, I can't think of a better offensive, weapon system in the NFL. I really can't. I mean, they're up there with, all of them. They're up there with the Packers. They're up there with the Chiefs. I mean, they are a tough team to defend if Joe Burrow had some time to throw. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it just, it's a bummer.
You want to do a little like yes or no Hall of Fame?
Sure.
I just want from you yes or no. Would
Okay.
you induct, based on what you know now, would you induct this person into the Hall of Fame? Aaron Donald,
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers,
Yes.
Matt Stafford.
Yes.
Really? Okay. Eli,
Getting
Ma-
a Super
e-
Bowl
oh, no,
victory.
no, Eli Manning. You're a fraud. You're a fraud
I'd say
for
yes.
taking.
I'd say
Oh,
yes.
no.
I'd
You
say
don't get
yes.
to answer. Your answer is negated. I can't believe you
Why?
because you just said Stafford yes won a Super Bowl. Then I mentioned Eli Manning who's won 2 Super Bowls, and you paused for at least 5 seconds. That's ridiculous, Scotty.
There was some recency bias in the Stafford answer, but
Yeah, no
but
kidding.
I would say both of them. I would definitely say yes for Stafford. I'd definitely say yes for Eli. What made me question it was I don't know. I just want I yeah the 2 Super Bowls from Eli, but he had some really bad seasons too. Stafford, of course, had a lot of bad seasons in Detroit, but
But what?
all right, maybe I just all right. Listen. This
Okay,
is
so
why the
so
whole
let me make something clear. I was not trying to expose you as a fraud, even though I did successfully. It was more so the point is that I think most people would say exactly what you just said. And I don't know why I didn't intend on getting into like an Eli Manning conversation, even though that's what I've invited here. But I think Eli gets a bad rep just because he's a little derpy, and
he,
he had a lot of good players on his teams, and he was one of those players that like won because he had good defenses. Um, Stafford's the same way. I mean Stafford. If you look down the stretch, his last 8 games, including the playoffs. He had like multiple picks in the majority of those games, which is says a lot of things. They can't run the ball, so they're throwing a lot. So there's other factors at play there. But I just think it's interesting how people coming off of the Super Bowl are definitely inclined to say Stephen A. was saying Matt Stafford is a Hall of Famer. Like,
Super Bowls are a game changer, man. It's that big of a deal because of all we just talked about, how hard it is for good teams and good players to even get there and win. So if you do it once, you're a big deal. If you do it twice, you're a huge deal. And then you get to the god tiers of Tom Brady and things like
well,
that. But
when people are talking about Stafford, I've seen on Twitter people say, "Oh, Stafford Hall of Famer," and then they'll comment, "What about we should crown Joe Flacco then too? He's got one."
Flacco's a different story, though. Flacco didn't have the longevity of a career. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. And Stafford though has a has a has a long career of being a really good quarterback that was just in a bad situation. Had Philip Rivers won a Super Bowl with the Colts, he'd probably be a Hall of Famer. I don't think he will be now. You know what I
I think
mean?
you're right about that.
So I think a Super Bowl ring does change a lot in the eyes of some of these quarterback or people that would support someone in a quarterback position that had been on a team that wasn't achieving a lot of success, but you could still tell that they were good.
Scotty, can you tell me how many Pro Bowls Matt Stafford has gone to?
Well, Pro Bowls that Stafford has gone to, or Pro Bowls that Stafford was actually selected for.
How many Pro Bowls does Matthew Stafford have on his resume?
Uh, I'd say probably like three,
One.
one.
Isn't that interesting? As many as Mac
That is interesting.
Jones.
That's
It's true.
That's
It's
that's
true.
it's true, but it's ridiculous.
It's sad but true.
But see, Pro Bowls in the quarterback position is tough because first off, some of it is definitely a popularity contest, but you only have two or three. So if you're like number four in the AFC or NFC, you still could potentially be pretty good. But if you're behind, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, I mean, what are you gonna do? You know what I
Well, the
mean?
only issue I have with that assessment is that the top guys, at least two of the guys that you're talking about that are going to be selected are going to skip out because for injury or they're playing in the Super Bowl or something like that. So you get a lot of. I mean, I mentioned Mac Jones. He wasn't he wasn't the top three at the position in the AFC or anything like that. But you have enough people that bow out. So because of that, you'd think that Stafford would have at least a couple more. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I get that, but I don't know. I don't even think they should count
They
fill-ins for
shouldn't.
Pro Bowls.
They absolutely
This
shouldn't.
just shouldn't count.
I mean, don't get me
You
wrong.
know, you're either
I'm a big Stafford guy. I mean, I'm not going to have any issue with people saying that he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, I don't really care all that much. I like the guy, but I think it's interesting how it's recency bias is a very real thing.
it is, but also I will say this too: the Stafford story might not necessarily be done. I mean, if
Yeah,
he comes back for the Rams. Maybe they don't, hopefully they don't repeat, but maybe they go to the NFC Championship game again. I think like
he's
if he gets a
34.
yeah, he could potentially has another season or two of playing at this level where, especially on a team like the Rams that are built to win right now, if they go deep in the playoffs again, or if he wins another division championship, I think that's just going to further solidify him making it. I think.
Barry Bonds.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a
I
nice.
think
Oh, no, please, please. Yeah, I want to hear it.
I and I my stance on Bonds and Clemens and Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, and heck, even Pete Rose has significantly changed over the last 15 years. I mean, what is the Hall of Fame? It's a museum. It's the history of a sport. You know what I mean? And the steroid era was a part of that history. And the MLB, which who I know don't exactly have a say in who's in the Hall of Fame and who isn't, they were making money hand over fist over those guys and their success. With the home run chase revitalized baseball in the early 2000s. Roger Clemens being a dominant pitcher, all those strikeouts. I mean, they profited on it. Those writers, who ultimately are the gatekeepers of in the Hall of Fame, they profited off of those guys too because they wrote stories about them. They made tons of money. So for them to not be in the Hall because of some ridiculous purity test. I'm at to the point now where I'm over. First off, I'm over baseball writers in general because they're the ones who are the purists and the gatekeepers of this sport that they're choking to death, basically. And and for them just to not put some of the greatest players, at least in their era, not have them in the hall is ridiculous to me. I think they all need to be in.
If you could change who selects Hall of Fame candidates, whether it's any sport, football, baseball, whatever, what in your mind is the best way to do it? Because I will tell you that fans are not should not be choosing it. I don't think writers
I
should be
wouldn't.
choosing it. Who would you choose?
I would choose and to some of these sports have some of these. I know that I think baseball has an element of this at least too. It needs to be a combination of veteran players and veteran folks in the organizations. You know what I mean? So like people that played in the league for X amount of years, maybe they were like big part of the players unions, people that were part of the various different franchises, all the teams, some old GMs, things like that. There should be a selection committee that is sponsored by the league and players association that choose ultimately who goes in and who does. And you can have the same rules on voting and all those types of things. But to me, the people who played the sport, honoring other people who played the sport, honoring the greatness, speaks more volumes because they know more than what the writers know and what the fans know. They know what went on in the locker room. They knew who those key guys were that really contributed in maybe ways that writers didn't. Same thing with people that were inside an organization. I think they have the best uh, the best view on who truly should qualify as a Hall of Famer and who doesn't. Writers should be like at the very bottom of the freaking list, in my opinion, because yeah, you cover it, and but you don't know some of the things about what goes on behind the scenes, and maybe you do, and I don't know, but I just feel like the people that played the sport, they know the best on who is the best in that
But
sport.
wouldn't you say that there are still in that scenario there would still be some biases that would be
Of
influential and hard
course.
to get around because these are people that you have relationships with them. They're your teammates. You coached them. They're your coach. There's a lot of factors
If
there
if if
that
there's a human, if there's humans making the decision, there will inherently be some bias. So unless there's a proposal that you just use some type of a computer algorithm based on statistics, then then you're gonna have some bias there. But to me, fans, no way. Fans should not have any say whatsoever. It's not a popularity contest. And writers, I think, should have a very minimal say because they're just as snooty and corrupt as anyone else.
what about if your number is retired in a stadium, you can qualify for the Hall of Fame. How about that as a
You'd have a
barometer?
you'd have a you'd have a much smaller Hall of Fame.
Well, is that so? Because, well, I mean,
Yeah,
coaches in football personnel people that are in there don't have numbers or anything like that. But you still have coaches and things that are
there are a
retired.
ton of Hall of Famers that don't. There are a ton of Hall of Famers that don't have their numbers
But
retired for their
explain that
teams.
to me because how could you be in the Hall of Fame if the team you played now, excluding any scenarios where like someone truly had like was very influential for like two teams and they weren't impactful enough for both, but their combined career. Aside from that, I wouldn't think that that's actually very common. But in more recent years, that's probably more common. I'm talking about like if like Jim Brown didn't have his name and number retired in the stadium. I mean, how could you justify? That's a weird example, but you know what I'm trying to say. How can you be in
I
the Hall of
do,
Fame
but
but not be retired, not be recognized in the Ring of Honor for the franchise that you played your career with? That makes no sense to me.
I don't know about that because you know, retiring a number to me is a level higher than a Hall of
Really?
Famer. I do, yeah, because you're saying a team is saying
What?
because I mean, think about as the years go on. I mean, hell, baseball they've had there's people in the Hall of Fame inducted in the Hall of Fame since like I don't know 1908. You got like 100 and some years. Like at some point if that was the barometer, you're gonna run out of numbers. First off, but secondly, hold on. I feel like a Hall of Famer is like, oh, you're like you deserve to be enshrined in history as like someone to remember. Retiring a number should be reserved to truly the select few of people that were franchise altering. Not just oh, you were awesome for 10 years. It was like, no, no, no. You did more for not just the team. You did something for the city. You did something for the community. You were like a person that is so revered and so honored that you're getting a statue in front of, the stadium that the team is. That you don't have that for every Hall of Famer. I'm talking like a Michael Jordan, or potentially a Peyton Manning or, those type like Tom Brady would be another one. Where yeah, you retire their number, no one else can wear that number because they are like a foundational part of your franchise identity, not just a really awesome player that like won you a few Super Bowls. You know what I mean? It's a different stratosphere, in my opinion, that should be reserved for.
Okay. Okay. I don't have. I just. I've never heard anybody say that Ring of Honor is greater than the Hall of Fame. Are we just like subject to the
Ring of
hold on,
Honor, Ring of
where
Honor.
the money's going? Because it seems like it's a
No, no,
way
no.
bigger deal to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. The Shrek comes to your door, and you get a bronze bust that's put in this hall with all the other. In Ring of Honor, it's like, yeah, okay, they might do it. They might announce the retiring of a jersey on like the opening game during like the halftime ceremony, for the
A
fans
Ring of
there.
Honor, a
Do
Ring
you
of
know what I'm saying
Honor is not
though?
the same. I know what you're saying, but a Ring of Honor is not the same as a number retirement.
How are they different?
Well, every team does things differently. I mean, like
Lack
for
of
example, the Philly.
standardization. Hmm.
Well, that could be a part of it, but like the Phillies, for example, have a Ring of Honor in the back of their stadium, and they induct people in every year. They don't retire their numbers though. It's just basically like a Phillies Hall of Fame of like really good core franchise players in the past that they kind of just want to honor
Okay,
and pay
okay, okay.
tribute to and have.
So the ordering here is on the bottom in terms of I say bottom, but you know what I mean. It's it's team Ring of Honor, League Hall of Fame, number retirement.
Yeah,
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think that this needs to be a bit more. I think that we would answer a lot of questions here about Hall of Fame inductees. I mean, if I'm losing steam on this topic, I don't
oh,
really care
listen,
anymore.
listen, listen, listen. I know, but just to put it this way, you know,
I was hoping.
one
Sorry to
number.
cut you off. I was hoping to get to a point where we could, based on our logic, we could determine what the hell Stafford is.
He's definitely a Ring of Honor guy for the
So
Lions.
he's a Ring of
Okay.
Honor guy for the Lions. He's not a number
Yes.
retirement for the Lions because he didn't win there.
You would never retire his number,
But hold on
but
a
you
minute.
put him in
Hold
the
on a
Ring of
minute. Hold
Honor
on.
as like a.
You retire a number because they were foundational to the franchise. They defined like what that franchise was for a period of time, right? What you did for the community, what you did for the team. Those are some of the things you said.
Well,
So,
you also need success too. That you didn't have success there. Team success. They need to win. In order for that to happen, you got to do that, and also you got to win some championships. That's a part. That's a part of.
so
That's what I mean.
Joe
That's why.
Thomas, so Joe Thomas's number should not be retired in Cleveland.
No.
I would disagree with you there.
What number was he? What number was he?
73.
73. Okay. So you mean to tell me that he was so good that no other Cleveland Brown should ever wear 73 ever?
What I know for
Yeah,
sure is
that is different than. So hold real quick though. That is very different than should his name be etched in Cleveland Browns history in the stadium? Should there be a plaque for him somewhere?
yes.
Absolutely, there should. Absolutely, there should. But that is to me is different than saying he was so great that no one should ever wear 73 again on that team.
I mean, he was the best player on our team for 10 years, a decade. I mean, I went my whole childhood not having anything to rely on other than Joe Thomas. I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, if you're talking about impact on a franchise, I mean, he was our MVP for a decade. So, I mean, I would say the same thing for Stafford in Detroit. There aren't.
They
That's
would not.
the thing that I don't think that we need to worry about here, Scotty. Is there's not a lot of players like that for a given team. So it's not like you're going to run out of numbers like crazy. I mean, there's only one Stafford. I mean, Cam Newton for the Panthers is a lesser whatever, but I would say that's an argument too. I mean, he defined the Panthers since
Yeah,
I know you don't.
no.
I know we've talked about Cam Newton. I
Being
know
a
how you
good
feel about him, but
being a good player for your franchise, being the best player in your franchise for several number of years, to me warrants like a Ring of Honor type of a designation. But to retire their number means that you need to be so iconic that no one should like no one you can never see someone in that number ever again.
I mean,
Like that's not
what I'll tell you is that I don't think there's going to be a 73 in Cleveland for at least 5 to 10 years.
there may not be, but there would definitely be another number one in Carolina. You know what I
I would
mean?
like
Like
to go
that's
back and see, I would like to go back and track how many times there have been where someone gets inducted into the Hall of Fame first, and then the team either adds them to the Ring of Honor or retires a number. I wonder how many times that's happened because that would, I know every team does things differently, and you could argue that some franchises that are like bonehead franchises that probably wouldn't have anybody in the first place to do this for, but they might be doing it as a little bit of a gimmick. They need to the Jaguars need to put somebody up there. So like, hey,
yeah, they probably don't even have a Ring of Honor.
Mark Brunell, let's go, buddy. Like we'll honor you at this game. Um, okay, well, I'm glad we talked about this, Scotty. Now I know where the pecking order is. We can,
Good.
good. Well, I mentioned Barry Bonds. We talked about a little bit of Hall of Fame stuff for him. I wanted to segue that into, can you give me a little bit of a lockdown or lockout update for the MLB?
I can give you a little bit of a lockout update. So I think it was over the weekend or
Friday.
Friday. The players in the MLB got together, and they are still nowhere close to reaching an agreement. I think the both sides seem like they're not really willing to budge on. I think it's based on everything that I'm reading from the reports. There's two big things that the players want and that the league just will not agree to. Number one, I think I, I don't completely quote me on these numbers, but I think the players want a $30 million reduction in revenue sharing across the teams. So that helps prevent teams from intentionally tanking and lowballing player salaries like the Pirates. So if they make 30 million less, then that's a big deal. So they need to spend more so they can generate more of their own internal revenue. Um, that's a big one. And then the other big one that seems like they're not being able to budge is that the players union want to go into arbitration after 2 years of being in the league instead of 3. So for those of you who might not be aware, when you get drafted in the MLB and you play in the minor leagues, you get called up to the majors. You basically play under a rookie deal where you're basically making the league minimum of $600,000 a season for 3 years. until you then become arbitration eligible. So if you're really, really good, you can then say, hey, I'm just as good as a guy that's making 10 million. I deserve to get 10 million. Then arbitrator would grant you that. The players want that to be moved up to 2 years because 3 years is a long time, and a lot can happen in 3 years before you actually go up for arbitration in your initial league deal. So the league seems like they're not willing to budge whatsoever on either one of those points, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in. So the MLB set a deadline of, I believe, February 28th of coming to an agreement, and if they don't, then opening day is going to be impacted. So now, a lot of people say that, okay, maybe on the 28th they don't reach an agreement, but maybe they're really close at that point and they reach an agreement by like third or fourth. They could still probably do an expedited spring training and still be ready by the 31st. But based on where everyone's at right now, it does not seem optimistic that we're going to have a on-time opening day, which is going to be a big bummer.
If the lockout didn't exist, what would opening day be? April what?
March 31st.
Oh, March 31st. Okay.
March 31st.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's the first spring training games I think were scheduled to start on the 26th of February, which seems like that's not going to happen. So they've yet to officially cancel those games because tickets have been sold, but that's going to be coming pretty soon, I'm sure. But yeah, it's going to be rough. Who knows how long this will last? If neither side are willing to budge, this could be a long lockout. And it seems like, again, based on the reports that I've been reading, that the players' union seems pretty lockstep and wanting to make sure that there's at least some movement on those two big issues. So I don't know. We'll see what
In
happens.
my head, I just picture the P's and C's wandering through the desert, waiting to come home to the promised land so they can finally get some action in.
Yeah, there's a pitcher just back at his home farm in Iowa, just throwing a baseball against the wall, just waiting to go.
Yes. Oh man, what about what happened if sorry, well, what a way to start that sentence. Replacement players. How fun would that be to watch a baseball league of just a bunch of replacement players?
Listen, I don't know if anyone's watched a little league baseball game, they're miserable. Bad baseball is miserable to watch when they're just fumbling out there, errant throws all left and right. Like, it is not a fun product to watch. You really appreciate good baseball when you see it. So
Hey,
I don't know.
this whole Kyler Murray threatening to play baseball thing, that's all a bunch of bullshit, right? I mean,
I think
this
so.
is all a bunch of big bluff. I mean, I would actually wouldn't mind it because he was drafted by the Cardinals, I believe. Go Redbirds. But
I think he was drafted by the A's.
are you sure about that? I thought I saw Cardinals. Oh my
Let me check.
gosh, I read the internet wrong. It's the Arizona Cardinals. Kevin,
Yeah.
moron. Moving on. Would you have any more on baseball? I mean, I'm ready to see Tatis, baby. I've been rocking my Padres shirt all day. I'm ready for it. I'm also ready
I
for a shortened season. I'm fine with that too.
don't want the shortened season. One of the problems with this whole situation is that there really hasn't been a lot of good free agency action because they've been waiting on
Hmm.
this agreement to be done. So there's still some outstanding player contracts and things like that need to be worked out. So we don't even know what these teams are actually going to really look like when the season starts because of this lockout. Um, as a fan, I'm bummed because there's just something about going to see baseball games in April and May when the weather's still kind of cool out and you're looking to get out because it's springtime and just going to particularly PNC Park, it's kind of dead. So you get just some nice good quality professional baseball. You get to watch in the evenings, have a hot dog. Not having that, we experienced that in 2020 because of the pandemic, and it was miserable. It was a miserable spring. Granted, there wasn't a whole lot of other sports going on either, which made it even worse. But I'm just bummed in general. But also the Phillies, they have a good team this year. They really close to making the playoffs. They could make something happen this year, but it's going to be tough with the shortened season. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Hey, you mentioned other sports. The NBA All Star break is coming up. I think it's this weekend.
Is it?
Yeah,
That's exciting.
Yeah, have you been following any of the basketball trades, things going on with that?
I've been following a few trades. I saw the James Harden trade.
That's the big splashy one. James Harden for Ben Simmons, Philly and Brooklyn. It's a big deal. I mean, I think that Philly, they're making a run for it. They're doing, they have Embiid. Ben Simmons wasn't playing for him anyway because that whole relationship's a mess, and he's got some
Yeah, but
mental health stuff
Harden,
that's going on. But no, but Harden, the dude wants to play and he wants to win. So I'll take that over. He's not just any old diva. That's the thing. Like obviously teams are willing to take a chance on him because he can play and he's eager to actually get a ring. Um,
he's a special diva. I'll give you that. But I don't know. I don't know. Nothing good ever comes out of Philadelphia sports. It's really hard. I mean, I'm a Phillies fan, but it's really hard to get excited about a 76ers team. I don't know. I mean, granted, my allegiance is to the Bucks, who have been kind of just they've been kind of there. They're okay right now, but they have a lot of weaknesses right now too. So
we have Bucks
I don't know.
Sixers Eastern Conference Finals.
That'd be pretty cool. I mean, it was a good matchup when they played last year. I think they played last year. Yeah, they played last year. It was a good matchup too. I think honestly though the East is just they're just fighting for whoever's going to lose to the Suns or the Warriors this year though. The West is so good.
The Lakers are a
Um,
mess.
oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you seemed really. I know. I'm enthusiastic about it too, Scotty. Tell me everything you got on the Lakers. You, se- you seem to be ready to go.
I I for some reason and I don't know why because I just like I don't like Cleveland sports, but I don't like Cleveland sports at all, but I like LeBron and the Cavaliers. And I just don't want to see LeBron have any success anywhere other than Cleveland. So when he went to Miami, big against Miami. When he went to LA, I'm big against that too. I mean, look, he can do whatever he wants to do. He paid his dues to Cleveland when he came back and won a championship with them, all that type of stuff. But I'm over LeBron James. He's had a long career. He's going to be obviously in the Hall of Fame, counted as one of the best players of all time. That's cool. I'm ready for him to be done and for the league to move on to all the other superstars they have going on
You know,
because
it's
it's
so
just
it's
it's
so
just
fascinating. We do this thing where we with like Tom, we've been doing it with Tom Brady for like 7 years now, where we're tired of him. We want him to. It's time for somebody else to do this to do the thing, and we don't appreciate our stars and not appreciate our stars. We don't appreciate our like extraordinary stars. Where but in like 20 years, we're going to be so proud telling our kids, I watched Brady, I watched LeBron, like it was the golden age for whatever. And right now, we're like ready for the next thing. Like, it's time for Burrow and Mahomes and Herbert to just run the league. Like, we're done with Rodgers and Brady can go. Big Ben's gone. Out of here. We're done with you. Get out of here, LeBron. We're ready for the next. We're ready for the next all-century basketball player that doesn't exist. I'm not saying I'm not. I don't do this either, but I just find it fascinating that we're so quick to like, hey LeBron, you had your time. It was a good story. It was cool, but like you're old now, and I don't. I'm done. I'm ready for someone else to win.
the sports fans in particular, like you and me, people that are really into just competitive sports and the storylines and the drama that comes along with it. You need the freshness. Tom Brady's so good that he almost ruined football. Because it's just not fun watching the same guy just school everybody all year. Every single year for a decade. It just you want to see intrigue. You want to see drama. You want to learn about new players. You want to see people underdog stories. That's a big thing. That's one of the reasons why sport is so amazing is that you get these every season is new. You got something different can happen. Some things can fall one way or the other way, and teams that have had sustained failure can find some success. And I mean people loved the Bengals in the Super Bowl this year, not because they like Cincinnati or anything like that, but they just like the fact that a team that hasn't won a whole bunch has found some success. I mean, if someone new, it's a fresh face, it's a new thing. You
I,
know, that's
I hear
that's
what you're
exciting.
saying. I hear what you're saying. But I really truly do believe that actually people like having a common villain. That's what's gonna. It's just gonna like ratings and excitement and intrigue. I mean, baseball and fans, they don't know it, but they want the Yankees in the World Series every year. Now they want the Yankees to lose every year, but they want them there because it's the Yankees, it's the big dogs. Like you want that's what draws people in. So you want Brady in the Super Bowl losing every time, but you want him there. Once it's everything's vanilla and everything's even and anybody could win on any given day, it loses a little bit of something. As like a diehard fan for a team that's had a struggling has been struggling over the years, you want that selfishly because you want to be able to compete. But if you're talking about just the health of a sport in general, you need villains.
It's true. You do.
It's
You
so
do.
good.
That's a good point.
I always think about the Giants. I think it was the Giants and Rangers World Series. I don't think anybody watched that. I don't even know who. I think the Giants won, but that's a guess just because I know the Giants have won a couple in the last whatever. Nobody watched that series. I mean, the Royals. Who did the Royals play? The Royals played. Was it the Astros? Did they beat the Astros? I don't even know. We don't. You don't have to
Well,
look
no,
it
you're
up. But
right.
the point is that we don't know because it's a Kansas City baseball versus not anybody that we even remember. So it's like I get what you're saying. We were talking about LeBron and the All Star break and stuff. I don't need to go into a whole big thing on LeBron. I kind of echo a lot of what you said, but I don't. If they can still play at a high enough level where it's entertaining, I don't want any of these guys to go anywhere because they're legends. They are absolute
But
legends.
okay, so I think you helped kind of describe my feelings on LeBron and the Lakers. They're one of those teams that I want to see lose. I want to see Steph Curry and the Warriors. I want
Oh
to see them
yeah.
lose. I want to. Okay, so yeah, so I want to see them. I want to watch them. If the league is better that they're in it. Would I want to see them lose? I don't want to see them win anymore. I like the fact that the Lakers are imploding right now. I don't know what to do. Like that's it's kind
Who
of a good
who
thing.
who did the Bucks beat last year in the finals?
Oh my gosh,
Scott.
that's. I know. I feel awful just even
You
drawing a blank on this.
well,
It was the Suns.
it
I'm
was the
gonna go
Suns.
ahead
It
and
was
say
the
the Suns.
Suns. It was the Suns, and they were
Yeah,
yeah, and they're killing it this year too. I think
yeah.
how great would it be to see the Bucks beat the Warriors at like full strength because they're back
Oh, I
up
would love
this
that.
year. They're because
I would love
Splash Brothers. I hated that so much. Get into all the.
that. Yeah.
I hate the Warriors so much. They're in my top. They're in my top hated teams. There's a lot of hate on this
Why?
podcast.
Because they beat
Oh,
the Cavs so much.
I mean, you
The
play.
Cavs series.
Listen, you play the Cavs 4 times in the finals, and you win 3 of them. I'm gonna hate you. Like that's just it's
That
natural.
makes sense. That makes
Um,
sense.
uh, there was something else I wanted to talk about, man. It's Daytona week.
Daytona.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going. February, yeah, the one good thing about the NFL pushing the regular season back a week and therefore the Super Bowl week, we only have half of February to kind of slog through. But there's a lot going on still. Daytona's this weekend. We just had the NHL All Star break. You had the NBA All Star break. Baseball should be kind of getting into the swing of things. February is not that bad of a sports month, Scott. I've heard you rail against February before.
It's gotten better with the extra week, like Super Bowl being extended a week into February. That has helped significantly because the gap of things that are not exciting is significantly shortened. But Daytona, and I feel like Daytona is earlier than it normally is. Is it normally, you know?
No, this is normal. It's a long season.
Wow,
They go from February to November. It's a long season.
it's a long season. For some reason, I thought they sometimes did it in very rarely. But
No, dude.
and also
Yeah, good.
that's okay. I also baseball has been the opening day is starting earlier and earlier. Now, granted, it's not going to happen this time, but if opening day was in April, normally it seems longer too. I don't know.
Dude, look at my video here. Sorry for the people that are audio only. I look like Like with my fuzzy screen and like the black, it's all there's no detail. I look like Nosferatu or something. It's not a good look.
It's like you're going to like a poetry slam or something with your hair slicked back like that.
A vampire poetry slam. Um,
Yeah,
Daytona, man. I think this is going to be Kevin Harvick's last year. He's like 45 years old. I don't know if he's the oldest to compete. I hope he wins one too. That'd be something. I'm rooting for Denny as always. There's been some movement. I think the bigger storylines like Kevin or Kurt Busch going over to 2311 Racing. So Bubba Wallace and him will be teammates. That's exciting. Um, I don't know. I'm ready for some NASCAR. I watched the Busch Clash the other weekend. I just
it was good.
it was fine. It was a weird race because it's meant to be an exhibition race, but they do two heats to qualify for the race. They do two 50 lap races to qualify, and then they do just 150. But it was strange because they did like a caution in between. They stopped like right at the 75 lap mark, and they had that performance by Ice Cube. He came out and did like a whatever song and dance, and then they went back to racing. It was like a halftime show during the Bush Clash. And Joey Logano, that dweeb, he ended up winning it. But I don't know. It's always there's always so much excitement for the beginning of the NASCAR season, and then you kind of then after you get into like the real dregs of the season, you're picking and choosing those good tracks that are like key ones to focus in on, like your Bristols and your Talladegas. Two Talladegas are in there, and if you're crazy, you get a little freaky for some Richmond, that kind of thing. But it's a long season, and it's hard to watch every single one. But I want to go to a few this year too. You missed the Michigan
That'd be
race
cool.
last year. We went to that one. It was a good time. Um,
I know. I've never been to one. I'd love to go to a NASCAR race.
Dude, a lot of speed, a lot of speed.
A lot of
You
speed.
get down close to the track, the little bits of rubber from the cars are flying up, hitting you in the face. It's great.
Perfect.
And
That's exactly what I
the
want.
whole entire the mile wide radius just smells like exhaust. It's fantastic.
I mean, it's what it just makes you feel alive. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there you go. Anything else, buddy?
No, no, I think that's probably about it.
Okay. Well, hey, we got a lot coming up here. So obviously Daytona, we'll talk about that probably next week, the outcome of it.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's golf season. I mean, we got the Masters is coming up. Whoa, what was that eye
Masters.
roll and scoff,
Listen,
man?
listen. Well, that wouldn't be my go-to thing. What I was thinking that you were going to go to is we're only 2 weeks away from the month of March, and March Madness is
Ah,
is slowly upon us, which is kind of fun. It's kind of exciting. I want to get into March Madness a bit more this year.
do you want to? Should we do a poll, a little show poll?
A pool, yeah. Let's do a pool,
I say poll.
a bracket.
Yeah, man, we'll do a little show bracket. We'll do something fun around that. That'd be good.
Yeah,
But
cool.
please do not just dismiss golf like that. I mean, it's the Masters. It's a tradition unlike any other. I mean, the green jacket. I mean, the perfectly manicured lawns. I mean, Kepka. DeChambeau. What do you want me to do? It's perfect. It's great. Yeah, hit the
It's I would
links.
I wouldn't say it's perfect or great. I'd say they're like they're teetering on
Yeah.
the Masters tradition. All these things that you're talking about are teetering on like a pretty long racist past of
Oh,
racist
get
and sexist
over it,
past of.
Scotty. Come on, it's golf, buddy.
I well, I'm just saying. I don't know if I don't know if golf. I think in general might not. I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts on golf. I gotta parse them out before I actually spew them on the
Next week.
podcast.
Let's do it. And I'm not.
Yeah,
I wasn't trying to insinuate that we should just ignore any negative history here. I'm just, yes, the Masters does have some questionable shit going on.
and some elitism too that is not really.
But
It's not really
how
what
much of that is
what.
just golf in general?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, golf is a sport. I don't know. Golf is going to be viewed very differently 50 years from now than it is today. I think when you get a lot of the boomers are dying off, and the people that grew up like playing golf and watching golf. I don't see golf as a rich person's sport, and
Oh, I
how I don't know how sustainable it's going to be as this American iconic, you know, sport tradition. I don't know. I
I don't
don't.
know, dude. I don't think golf is a rich person sport. I mean, you need access to like a place to play, but all you need is like three
And
clubs.
expensive clubs.
No, no, you just need three. Hockey is an expensive sport. I mean, that's an expensive sport.
Hockey is an expensive sport too, but I think hockey's more popular than golf.
Golf definitely falls into that that country club sport category, like with your tennis and your croquet,
It's an old man's sport with an old man's culture,
tea
and I don't think.
sandwiches,
I think if you look at
white
you
tennis
know
shoes,
80 years from now, retire in like those retirement communities, they won't have these luscious green golf courses that people are just itching to play.
tea
They're gonna
times.
have they're gonna have arcades. They're gonna have e-sport rooms where old people are gonna be playing video games and stuff. I'm telling you,
You're
it's
so
not gonna
wrong,
be.
man. You're so wrong, dude. What's gonna happen is people like us will that can eventually buy a set of clubs or get a hand-me-downs from our parents or whatever. We'll go start casually playing, and as video games get more and more advanced, and it's going to be VR and all this crazy shit, we will not have interest in that, and instead we'll like, you know what? I want to go outside, and I can't play any other sports other than golf because I'm an old man. Let's go hit the links for a little bit. All these kids can have their video games. It's not going to be arcades where they used to have like the beer stand. What are you talking about? Where that stuff's going to
They're
pass us
hunter.
by so quickly. It already is. Technology is moving way too fast. You know it's not moving fast? Golf. That's the show. That's got to be the
The
show.
show.
All
That's the
right.
show.
Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Okay. Nice.
That's
You know
the.
what? I like you as the little curmudgeon here. I like that. You're perfect for the golf course.
I'm perfect for the course. I can tell you this, and maybe it's just for me, but when we're all old and gray and retired, you will not find me on a golf course.
Where will I find you?
Probably by the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be chilling by the pool.
Little pineapple
I'll
drink.
swim. Yeah, a little pineapple drink,
Little
something
umbrella in
fruity.
it. Yeah, something fruity.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nice.
All right.
That's where I'd be.
I can't wait to come hang out. All right. So if you've listened this far, you must, for some reason, like what you've heard. So, given that, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ObsessionCast for all future episode updates and whatever else we might post, sports related or otherwise. Thanks for watching.